Hello there! Today we're exploring China's so-called ghost cities, vast silent skylines that may hold the key to our urban future. As dawn winds sweep across the dust plains of Inner Mongolia, rattling street signs that mark 6-lane avenues with no traffic. On either side rise rows of pristine apartment blocks, their mirrored windows still sheathed in factory film, reflecting the rosy sky like sleeping giants. A driverless bus sighs to a halt at a silent interchange, doors sliding open for passengers who have not yet arrived. To an outsider, this seems the ruin of a science fiction dream. But the concrete is new, the paint still wet, the power grid humming beneath the asphalt. Western headlines call such places ghost cities. Chinese planners call them foundations for a future that has not yet caught up. China's urban saga begins with numbers so immense they warp perspective. In 1980, fewer than 200 million Chinese lived in towns. By 2025, the country housed more city dwellers than Europe and the Americas combined. Each year for 4 decades, a population the size of Australia traded village lanes for factory gates. Beijing and Shanghai were already choking on exhaust, their apartments priced beyond the reach of middle-class newcomers. Rather than watch migrants crowd tenements, Beijing adopted an audacious remedy: build new cities in advance, stack concrete against the tide, and let humanity trickle in later. To Western economists, vacant towers are sunk capital. Yet to Chinese officials, they are vertical bank accounts storing value until crowds arrive. Land in the People's Republic remains state property. Local governments cannot sell it outright, but they can lease usage rights, usually for 70 years, collecting lump sum fees that dwarf property taxes elsewhere. Those proceeds fund roads, hospitals, schools, and subways long before residents pay a utility bill. Municipalities simultaneously borrow through local government financing vehicles, pledging future land revenue against present debt. When markets overheat, the central bank nudges mortgage rates or suspends luxury condo permits. The state steers outcomes with a firm, sometimes heavy hand. Kangbashi, the city that launched the ghost town meme, illustrates the rhythm. Conceived in 2003 as a showcase for coal-rich ordos, it sprouted monumental sculptures of Genghis Khan, an opera house shaped like desert dunes, and boulevards wide enough for parades. When coal prices crashed a decade later, construction slowed and reporters filmed empty plazas. They missed the footnote: rare earth mining, renewable energy plants, and low housing costs began pulling people inward. By 2024, the census counted more than 430,000 inhabitants. Apartment prices had doubled off their lows, and kindergarten waiting lists formed where tumbleweed once skittered. Tianducheng, a replica of Paris 2 hours from Shanghai, was mocked in 2013 when wedding photographers outnumbered residents. Then Hangzhou's Metro Line 3 glided to the base of its half-scale Eiffel Tower, trimming commutes to Alibaba's campuses to under 40 minutes. Occupancy surged, rents followed, cafes bloomed beneath faux houseman arches. What began as kitsch matured into suburbia, proving that ridicule can be temporary where rail connects imagination to income. Yujiapu, Tianjin's unfinished financial peninsula, presents a harsher lesson. Pitched as China's Manhattan, it stalled when debt-laden developers froze mid-build. Half-clad towers loom over deserted streets. Weeds crack marble atria, and drones film eerie panoramas. Yet high-speed rail now covers the 120 kilometers to Beijing in 36 minutes. State banks are relocating back-office staff at bargain rents, and the district has been designated a pilot zone for the digital yuan. Infrastructure outlives insolvency. Patience measured in decades often rescues plans laid in quarters. Lingang, south of Shanghai, shows the payoff when strategy aligns with industry. Reclaimed from the East China Sea, it once hosted more seagulls than citizens. Then the municipality offered zero customs duties on imported aerospace components and 5-year tax holidays for foreign engineers. Tesla erected a gigafactory in 16 months. Comac assembles passenger jets nearby. Chip makers surround a cooling lake large enough to dissipate server farm heat. Sidewalks may appear quiet, but inside clean rooms code compiles and prototypes were prosperity tracked in data packets, not footfall. Photographs can mislead. Nightlight satellites reveal luminosity climbing where critics see darkness. Mobile signal studies register handset activity rising double digits in districts labeled dead. Daytime avenues may slumber while residents toil in industrial parks or commute to legacy downtowns, returning only at dusk. Conventional yardsticks, street crowds, retail buzz ignore the invisible pulse of logistics hubs and cloud factories. Property also anchors household psychology. Chinese families store roughly 70% of their wealth in real estate. In a nation wary of stock volatility and barred from large-scale overseas investment, concrete feels safer than paper. Apartments bought for unborn children may stand vacant for years yet remain cherished assets. More than 90% of households own at least one home. 1 in 5 holds multiple. Real estate in China is less speculation than social contract. Demography and Carbon now challenge the model. China's population peaked in 2022. Fewer births threaten long-term demand. Cement pours emit a quarter of national greenhouse gases, conflicting with a 2060 net zero pledge. Evergrande's collapse exposed the danger of unchecked leverage, prompting Beijing's 3 red lines that cap developer debt ratios and compel municipalities to post hidden liabilities. The policy slogan has shifted from build first, hope later to retrofit, repurpose, renew. Environmental engineers treat half-occupied towers as test beds. In Nanhui, rain gardens carved between lanes absorb monsoon torrents, feeding reed beds that cleanse runoff before it reaches Hangzhou Bay. Solar glass crowns bus shelters, powering Wi-Fi routers and phone chargers. White-tiled roofs reflect sunlight, shaving peak season air conditioning by thousands of tons of carbon each summer. Inside a deserted megamall in Guian, Tsinghua University's energy team operates a carbon sandbox. Thermal cameras reveal blue plumes of leakage. Students seal gaps with bioaerogel foam that cures in minutes yet insulates like brick. Data feed a national dashboard where mayors compare retrofits by kilowatt saved per yuan spent. In a country racing to cut emissions, each rehabilitated square meter is both moral duty and commercial prototype. Debt, often cited as Achilles' heel, is more nuanced up close. Financing vehicle bonds are held largely by domestic banks, swollen with household deposits, keeping interest payments inside national borders. When a Hebei county missed a coupon in 2024, Beijing brokered a swap, extending maturities and tying repayment to future land sales, turning IOUs into revenue shares. Defaults are painful, but absorbable within a sovereign credit system that prints its own currency. Cultural life colonizes emptiness faster than balance sheets. Web novelists set dystopias in silent skyscrapers. Skateboarders film viral stunts on unscuffed granite rails. Indie directors shoot period dramas down Tianducheng's boulevards without paying Parisian fees. What tourists call eerie, residents call free studio space. Universities accelerate colonization. Sichuan's Tianfu New Area offered decade-long rent rebates to campuses willing to expand. 15 institutions accepted. Dorm balconies now flutter laundry above sidewalks once swept only by construction dust. Cafeterias serve Chongqing hot pot beside flat whites, melding tradition with aspiration under concrete poured yesterday. Tech firms prize emptiness. Autonomy labs test driverless trucks on Lingang's midnight blue lane, a dedicated loop wired with LiDAR when asphalt was first laid. Each kilometer becomes living code refined nightly, destined for denser downtowns once perfected. NASA's VIIRS sensor records the planet's faintest glows. Between 2012 and 2024, Kangbashi's night radiance rose 280%. Tianducheng's climbed 410% after the metro arrived. Even Yujiapu, stalled, yet breathing, shows bright spikes where a completed tower finally illuminated its facade. History suggests patience. Washington, D.C. was swamp and scaffolding when Congress first met. Canberra remained a dusty enclave before culture warmed its bones. Brasilia's sterile superblocks sprouted jazz bars once second-generation residents claimed the voids beneath pilotis. Urban time moves slowly for politicians, yet startlingly fast for historians. Successful cities strike the compromise. A social experiment unfolds alongside the architectural one. In Xiong'an, a mobile app assigns migrants to mixed-income clusters, so every building stacks renters from 3 salary tiers. Elevators accept facial recognition, doubling as health tracers. Communal kitchens on every 3rd floor revive vanished courtyard culture. Sociologist Li Ning's survey of 1,200 households found 92% met neighbors from other provinces within a month, compared with 26% in Beijing's outer suburbs. Youth leads the migration. 27-year-old Lin Qiaoling writes code for an AI chip startup in Lingang, pays 1/3 Shanghai's central rent, bikes along car-free canals, and windsurfs on an artificial lake at weekends. My classmates said I was crazy. She smiles, but they visit because the restaurants are cheaper and the sky is actually blue. Retirees follow. 68-year-old Li Shulan traded her village house for a 2-bedroom in Kangbashi, joins dawn dance troops on the opera house steps, gets quarterly health checks at a telemedicine kiosk, and live streams folk songs to an audience larger than her county's population. Her pension stretches further, where utilities are subsidized to attract settlers. Vacancy is shrinking, but planners hedge against future shocks. Property tax trials in Shanghai, Chongqing, and Shenzhen pivot the calculus from speculative gain to rental yield, nudging empty flats toward productive use. International investors enter cautiously. Singapore's CapitaLand manages malls in Chengdu, Germany's DHL builds bonded warehouses near Xi'an, trusting that state determination seldom leaves assets dormant indefinitely. Sidewalk vendors ignore zoning maps, painting roll-down shutters with cartoon tigers to lure passers-by. Teenagers transform dry fountains into BMX arenas. Toddlers chase pigeons across plazas once patrolled only by security guards. A city scripted in bureaucratic blueprints begins to improvise. Urbanist Yang Pei cautions against short-term verdicts. Embryos look nothing like adults, he says. Why expect concrete embryos to behave differently? An old proverb whispers, a village is built in 3 days, a town in 3 years, a city in 3 generations. From the 88th floor above Zhengdong New District, night traffic appears as molten streams curling around towers that 10 years ago loomed dark in viral videos. Below, a convention center the size of Vatican City throbs with esports fans beating neon thundersticks. Transformation took 15 years, an eternity for social media, a blink for history. Desert wind prowls Kangbashi's outskirts, yet inside high-rise living rooms, hot pot broth bubbles and variety show hosts gossip about celebrity scandals. A place becomes real not when CNN declares it so, but when neighbors complain that the elevator music is too loud. Ordinary annoyance is the ribbon cutting of genuine life. Ghosts linger where stories lack closure. China's empty districts are unfinished chapters. Cranes serve as punctuation marks in sentences still unfolding. Some tales will climax in prosperity, others in demolition, all leaving lessons in their wake. Every poured foundation expands humanity's vocabulary of urban possibility. Planners now admit missteps, projections too rosy, facades too garish, relocation packages too small. New guidelines demand ratios of public schools, elder care beds, and affordable rentals before luxury condos break ground. Dazzle yields to duty. In the hush of China's wide avenues lies a dilemma every growing nation must confront. Dare we build for futures not yet tangible? Concrete walls cannot answer, but each blank facade poses the question, and every light that eventually flickers on replies. A boulevard once haunted by its own echo now thrums with scooters ferrying milk tea. Somewhere a child is born who will never believe these streets were empty. Memory fades. Cities forget. And that forgetting may be the final proof that the gamble succeeded.